Hello, this is Paul Hoyt, and welcome to our Office Hours presentation today. Our Office Hours is a relaxed, informal mentoring program that we do every Monday at noon Pacific time. This recording will be available online for a few days, and then all of the recordings will be archived in our members area. This is Office Hours presentation number 31, so we've been doing it for nearly 8 months now. I did take a couple of weeks off a few weeks ago to go to the CEO Space Business Growth Conference. But I think we're into our 9th month because of that. The reasons I do this are plentiful. Number one is that I know that being a successful small business owner can be a great experience, but I know that it's tough. You really need the training to help you avoid making mistakes. I really want you to get to know me, because when you get to know me, you'll see that I really care, and I really do want you to succeed. And I've got a huge body of information and experience out there that I can share with you for your benefit. Our agenda for these calls are always an in-depth discussion of a business success principle. Then I make a few closing remarks, some special offers, and an invitation for next week's session. And then we have open and Q&A. And just as a heads up, we're going to have a big surprise when it comes to the closing remarks today. So if you're tuned in, please stay tuned in for the big surprise in the closing remarks. Before we get started, I want to encourage you to join our Brilliant Business Facebook group. And if you have attended 4 or more of these Office Hours presentations, I want to have a call with you. So please give me a call. You can reach me at my telephone number, 415-997-8001, or go to schedulepaul.com and pick a time that works for you to make sure that we have an opportunity to connect. Today's topic is on the book, Hooked, A Guide to Building Habit-Forming Products. I think I also call this the science of building loyalty, because that's what this is really all about. This is a book by Nir Eyal, and hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I don't know that I've ever seen it or heard it actually pronounced. But it is a great book that I read that one of my marketing folks, Audra, said I should read a few weeks ago, and I did. And man, I really got a lot out of the book, and I want to share that with you today. As always, I try to relate the subject matter to one or more of our key performance areas in business, of which I defined 7 when I wrote my first book, The Foundation Factor, in 2004. And the process of gamification, or building loyalty, is square in the area of product development and marketing. It's these two functional areas of your business working hand in hand to employ loyalty-building techniques into the products that you have and into the marketing efforts that you have. It can also be a little bit of sales, but primarily this is about marketing and product development. And I think that you can apply gamification techniques or loyalty building techniques into any one of the key performance areas of your business, but I think it's primarily marketing and sales. So today we're going to talk about the background of the author of this wonderful book, Nir Eyal, and we're going to have a brief introduction to the art and science of gamification, and we'll talk about the 4 steps to the hook model that Mr. Eyal presented in his book, one by one. We'll talk a little bit about the ethics of gamification, the ethics of hooking somebody and building loyalty, and then we'll sum it all up with the bottom line. So let's get started with that. Nir Eyal has a Stanford MBA, and in the process of getting his MBA, he started working on some projects to place advertising into online social games. And he really started asking himself the question, what hooks people? What gets people to stick around? What is it about these games that builds loyalty and builds some sense of ongoing relationship with the people playing the games? But he didn't find any blueprints out there on forming habits. So he did his research. And as a result of his research, he began consulting with other companies. He's also taught at Stanford and a few other places, and became a bit of an expert on the field of building loyalty. So he wrote the book, Hooked, that I'm going to talk about today. The gaming industry has been around for a long, long time. And by the gaming industry, primarily that always used to mean going to Las Vegas and the casinos industry, and then it emerged into the online gaming industry. Games of chance is a $140 billion a year business in the United States. A lot of that, of course, flows through Las Vegas with their dozens of casinos, and now we're starting to see some of it flow through online games, etc. Video games themselves, which are sometimes what people think of when we think about games, is a $24 billion a year business, which passed the movie industry a long time ago, which is now a $10 billion a year business. So when we think of games, I think of it in two different ways. I think about it in terms of games of chance, or playing poker and blackjack and roulette, and the games that you can play, many, many different ways of wagering and betting on something in the gaming industry. But video games are another huge part of the game industry as well. There's already mobile. There are a lot of freemiums that we see in the gaming industry, which allow it to be free to pay up to a particular point in time, and then they have upsells to unlock features, to avoid interruptions with ads, to gain superpowers, etc. As it turns out, we just love to play games, and people are recognizing that and using that for the benefit of their business. Gamification I define as the application of elements of game playing to other activities in order to modify behavior. The common elements of game playing are things like points, badges, and leaderboards. As it turns out, we love to get points and be awarded points for something and earn points for something. We love to get badges or somehow be recognized for our achievements, and we love to have contests with other people, so leaderboards are a big part of gamification as well. Gamification can be played in a variety of different areas in your business, and here's some examples. Sales contests is a very common way to employ gamification techniques into a business to encourage specific behaviors, and in this particular case, the behavior of selling more. So you might have a contest every quarter that says the person to sell the most of the blue model that we have is going to win a television set. Or the person who, for everybody who makes quota this year, we're going to have a rewards trip, and that rewards trip is we're going to go to Bali, or we're going to go to Maui, and it's going to be you and your wife, and we're going to see an all-paid, all expenses paid vacation for you. Is a very common thing to do in the sales industry. We want our salespeople to play games because it's been proven that whenever you get your salespeople to play games, that they will outperform their own selves otherwise. Other examples might be fundraising campaigns and referral contests. So fundraising campaigns with a nonprofit of some kind, a church or some other agency, may have a fundraising activity, and they put some sort of campaign in that, and the whole community gets to be rewarded when the community is successful working together for a specific goal that they have. Or they might have individuals and split up into teams and have the red team and the blue team and the green team compete against each other when it comes to raising campaign funds, or in referral contests of some kind. So the keys are that you want to know what your behavior is, and then you want to create a way to adjust people's behaviors so that they will help you accomplish your business goals. And I'll repeat that a little bit later on. So in social media, we see a tremendous amount of gamification as well. In Facebook and LinkedIn, it's about the number of friends you have and the number of connections that you have. It's also about getting likes and getting endorsements for the posts that you have up there, and it's about notifications. I don't know about you, but I get onto Facebook several times a day, and I'm always really excited about the number of notifications I get, the number of people who've shared my posts and my energy of the day messages specifically, and the number of likes that I've gotten and the number of friends that I have. It becomes a game that I enjoy playing with myself in order to just it helps me increase the loyalty. Facebook has done a very good job of this, and LinkedIn has done a very good job of that. The reason why we do this again is it allows us to focus behaviors. We pick a specific behavior that we want our community to have, and then we reward that behavior in such a way that the behavior increases. It helps people build habits, and it helps us achieve our goals. That's why we do gamification, is to help achieve our business goals. The reason why it works is that people love to make progress. People just love to feel empowered by this sense of being a little bit stronger today, or a little bit more successful, or making progress on their journey in some way. than they had yesterday. We love to make progress. We love the feeling of accomplishment that progress brings to us. And we love to win. If there's games out there that are win games, win-lose games, or win-win games, we just love to be, that feeling of winning is really fantastic for us. And I think we'd love to compete against ourselves, and we love to compete against other people too. I know there's been some of the colleagues that I have speak out against competition, but I'm frankly a fan of it. And I think that there's positive competition and there's negative competition. Positive competition is when we want to play, a game with each other, whether it be a game of cards or a game of horse or a game of whatever, where both people win because of the enjoyment they had during the game, and the outcome really isn't the main goal. The outcome is just the icing on the cake. The cake is the playing of the game with a friend. That can be a lot of fun. Some people have a more ruthless attitude towards competition, and they want to crush everybody and take over the entire world. But that's certainly not the way that I address competition. I suspect that it's not the way that you do either. This all, to me, comes up to something I call the law of empowerment. The law of empowerment simply states that we feel more powerful whenever we are successful in any way. And we really look towards ways in which we can increase our feeling of personal power, because it helps us feel safe and helps us feel more calm and confident. So anything that we can do that enhances our own self-image and our own personal prestige and makes us feel like we have accomplished something or achieved something generally contributes to our overall well-being and our overall sense of confidence. And that's what the law of empowerment is all about. The reason you need to understand gamification and the concepts that we're talking about today is a couple of reasons. Number one is to know when you are being gamed, to look out for the gaming techniques or the loyalty building techniques, the habit building techniques, the behavior modification techniques that are being used on you whenever you play a little game on your smartphone or your iPad or online. Also, it's there to help you employ these techniques in your own business, because they do work. So that's why people are doing them. So I want to talk to you about those a little bit today, so you can do that. And one of the primary benefits of that is increasing customer loyalty or increasing community loyalty. But it can also be used to dramatically increase revenues and profits. And as it turns out, one of the things in the book, they talk about increasing pricing flexibility, because the stronger relationship you have with your community, the less likely they are to object and go elsewhere when you raise your prices. Netflix just raised their prices, I guess it was last week or the week before, and one of the reasons given was that they had a very strong relationship with their community, that they really felt like raising prices was going to contribute to the bottom line, and people weren't going to bail for an extra $1 or $2 a month. And my guess is that they're very right about that. They may have even tried it out a little bit. So there's a lot of good reasons to use gamification techniques in your business to increase the loyalty with your community, because that can increase your revenues and profits over the long term and increase your pricing flexibility, so you can raise prices whenever it seems like the right time to do that. And of course, as we talked about earlier, with sales teams and other teams too, it can really help you increase team performance and increase sales overall. So in this particular book, Hooked, there is a 4-step hook model. The first step comes the trigger. The next step is the action or response. The third step is the variable reward. And the fourth step is the investment that somebody makes in the activity or behavior. This next diagram that you see on your screen is copied directly from his book. It starts with a trigger, either an external trigger or an internal trigger, for which there is some action or response to that trigger. Then it moves into some sort of reward for that, preferably a variable reward, and then some sort of investment of time that gets people to really lock into the system. And we're going to talk about each one of those 4 steps individually. First of all, the trigger can come from an external source. It can be emails or notifications. It can have bells and lights. It can have all kinds of things blinking at you. It can be a separate marketing message that appears on your screen, or it can be some sort of other external event that triggers you to respond in a particular way that the person who designed the system, who put the gamification techniques into the business, wants you to behave. It'll also come from internal sources, the internal ones being far more powerful. Things like building habits and really getting people to use their own thoughts and their own feelings as a trigger for them to do some sort of behavior that benefits you. So again, those triggers can come from the outside, some message that pops up on a screen while somebody's playing a game, or just, finishing a round in the game in some way, a notification that you've won the next level, something like that, that really can trigger a response. But what you really want to do is help people build habits so that they don't think about going a day or two without playing your game or interacting with you in some way. That you want top of mind awareness so that you can benefit from that from a sales and marketing point of view. So after the trigger that you put into your business or into your system comes, next comes the action or response that you want. Sometimes that you're asking people to post or to play in some particular way. You may ask them to click or to follow you. You may ask them to interact with other people. You may ask them to buy a product. And the two primary factors when it comes to eliciting the specific response that you want are the ease with which they can actually do the action, and the motivation, the reward, or the anticipated reward that they see for taking that action. So whenever you create the trigger, it's usually specifically designed for some particular action or response, and the likelihood of your audience responding to that trigger in the way that you want them to depends upon the ease and the motivation that they have, or the value that they see in taking that specific action, in having that particular response. Once they do that, then you want to move into what they call a variable reward. Then that's basic psychology. Basic psychology says that random reward is a far more powerful reinforcement than consistent reward is. And they've done countless studies on this with animals and with humans, that if you, for example, give a bird a little bit of something to eat every time that they push a button with their beak, they will get that to heart. But if you give it to them in a random area, every third time or every second time, or at random and a random amount of reward, sometimes one pellet, sometimes 2 or 3 pellets, they can become furiously addicted to that behavior. And the reason why that is that it creates a craving within people, creates a craving through unexpected responses, sometimes none and sometimes a lot. It creates a craving through surprises. And one of the most interesting things about this book to me was its knowledge that it creates a craving through the unfulfilled anticipation of a reward. So as it turns out, that much like being frightened of something is oftentimes far, far, far worse than the actual event happens. As it turns out, the anticipation of a reward can be much stronger than the actual reward itself. The anticipation of having an ice cream cone, the anticipation of having a cup of coffee, the anticipation of a nice meal can be more satisfying than the actual event itself, because that's the way we build up cravings in our mind. And if you only get that reward, at a random level, that anticipation builds up from action to action to action, so that it finally builds up to a tremendous amount. So when you finally get that reward, it becomes far more pleasing, far more addicting, far more habit-forming than it ever was before. So take that into mind, that variable reward is much more powerful than consistent reward, and the reason why it is because it builds up a higher level of craving, and therefore actually enhances the reward significantly, because in addition to getting the reward, you're also relieving some of the craving out there. And the fourth step is the investment. The investment comes, and this is the investment from the person who had the trigger, who had elicited the action, who got the response. And this investment comes in many forms. It comes in their investment of their effort, their time, their data, their social capital, their money. Social capital meaning, the sharing and referring it to other people and somehow investing in a relationship, or have this particular activity impact a relationship in some way. And one of the fundamental teachings of this book also is that the more that someone invests, the more likely they are to continue investing, to get a reward, and here's the big kicker, to prove themselves right. Because nobody likes to invest a lot of money and a lot of time in a particular effort and not be rewarded on the other end. Once they get some reward for their investment, it in some way, large or small, proves themselves to be right about their choice to invest that time or money. So it's really important for them to make a big investment, and the larger the investment, the more you want it to pay off for them, hopefully in a variable or a random way, so that they really feel like they made a good decision in investing their time, their money, their social capital in whatever behavior you picked for them. So that's another key understanding, is that people invest time, to prove themselves right and to feel good about themselves. I don't know if you play games on your smartphone or on your iPad, but I enjoy doing that, and probably play, an hour or two a day in the evening when I'm not working. And some of the games that I play are incredibly addicting because of the time investment that it takes in order to win a game. There's games that I play that I win all the time, and that's really nice. But the ones that are really addicting to me are the ones that I can't win all the time, or I don't win all the time. The ones that may take 20 or 30 or 40 minutes only to find out at the end of it that I wasn't a winner. But maybe I'll be a winner the next time. They're very habit-forming to me personally. So here's that model again from the book, where it starts with the trigger, either an external or an internal trigger, that moves into an action or a response that provides a reward, sometimes big, sometimes small, sometimes not at all, and encourages your partner to make an investment in the game itself or in the behavior that you're wanting them to invest in. And then it starts all over again. Then it starts again. It's very cyclic, and we want to play the game and play the game and play the game and level up in the game and open up new opportunities and features in the game when they've reached particular levels, etc. And if you pay attention to these, the trigger, the action, the variable reward, and the investment, you'll be able to increase loyalty in your business. I want to talk just a little bit about another subject that's addressed in the book then, and that's the ethics of hooking, the ethics of building that loyalty. And my general rule of thumb is that which is done with compassion and goodwill and good intentions to truly help somebody else and are focused on building long-term win-win relationships, that it's okay, because you really have the other person's best interest at heart. You don't want to create a situation to where they feel guilty for going in some other direction, but it's okay to play games with people and encourage that loyalty, encourage them to have a win-win relationship, because in fact you are helping them feel better about themselves for engaging with you in some way. Where it's not okay is if you're doing this stuff to otherwise manipulate, steal, punish, starve somebody, and your really idea is a win-lose outcome, a real ha-ha, I won, you lost kind of an attitude. To me, that's not ethical at all. As long as your heart's in the right place, as long as you're really trying to help other people, you really want them to have fun, you want them to have a good investment of their time and get a fair reward for that, and there's a fair exchange of value involved in the relationship, I think it's okay. But what I think really doesn't make that much difference. It's what you think that makes a difference. And you get to be your own ethics coach here. You get to ask yourself whether or not this feels right in order for you to employ gamification techniques in your business. So here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that gamification is incredibly powerful, and it's here to stay. We human beings love to play games, and people are figuring this out to their benefit in order to adjust behavior to benefit the business itself. Knowing what hooks other people helps you to see when you are being hooked, and it helps you hook other people. In other words, build loyalty with other people too. So in our agenda today, we talked a little bit about the background of Near IOL. We talked about a brief introduction to gamification. We talked about the 4 steps to the hook model: the trigger, the response or the action, the reward, and the investment. And we talked just a little bit about hooking, and that's the bottom line for us. So here's your homework. Your homework is look for the ways in which hooking techniques are being applied in your world, and you'll see them everywhere once you start to look for them. And once you have done that, I really want you to buy the book and study it. Whenever I do a book report and it seems to be valuable to you, you can get the Kindle version of this book for $10, I believe it is. So if you found this to be at all enticing or interesting, my recommendation for you is to go online and buy the book and study that book. And then think about putting some basic game mechanics into your products and into your marketing, and get somebody on your team who understands the principles and can help you implement them. And when we started today, I said that we were going to have a little bit of surprise at the end of the session today. And the surprise today is I'm giving away a free 90-minute consultation. That's about a $400 value that I'm giving away to one of the live attendees on the call today. And I'm not sure who that's going to be, so I'm going to invite, actually I'm going to take down the list here and see, and I think I'm going to choose my friend Walter Williams today. So Walter has been coming to these office hours conferences for a long, long time, and I want to honor that and reward that by giving him a free hour-and-a-half consultation. So Walter, congratulations. You're the big winner for today, and I would encourage you all who are attending this call live or listening to the recording to think about that, because my implication, or my intent rather, is that I will be employing gaming techniques, gamification techniques in my business going forward. And who knows when there might be another contest, who knows when there might be another prize, and you might be the one to win it today, just like Walter did. So Walter, get in touch with me, and we'll have your free 90-minute consultation about your business. We're going to have open questions and answers in just a minute. I want you to, in that, we're going to have comments and questions on the topic of the day, and then any other issues that you have. I want you to tell me what your biggest takeaways are, and what insights you got from the presentation, and tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what you're going to focus on, and then also post that in the Brilliant Business Group, which is our Facebook group. Remember, I want you to join that. Always my approach to providing services to the folks that I work with is to meet you where you are and then help you make amazing progress in the next 90 days. That's my primary approach. And I've got a wide variety of services that I have and nearly 50 years of business experience, and also provide fundamental training that you might need to avoid huge mistakes that slow you down or shut you down. From a services point of view, I provide services at 3 different kinds: my consulting coaching services, my library membership program, and my Beyond Business Survival CEO training program. For services, I'm immediately available for coaching, for private mentoring, to write business plans, financial models, and strategic plans with folks, and at programs that start as little as just a couple of $100. My Paul Hoyt Library membership contains all of our office hours recordings, and this is number 31. So I am convinced that in those first 30 presentations, there's something that's going to be of considerable value to there. There's also dozens of other business documents, templates, agreements, spreadsheets, things that I've accumulated over the last 13 years as a business consultant, and some bonus inspirational messages, and we're adding to the library every single week. The library comes with 3 different pricing options. You can get a lifetime membership for $279, an annual membership for $79, or monthly just $9.38 a month. And in the last session, we talked about taking this office hours presentations to a paid portion of the library membership. So as soon as my marketing team gets back from this little break that they're taking, we're going to implement that into the office hours presentation. And when you sign up for office hours, you'll need to provide a credit card, and you'll be charged at the end of the month for that $9.38. Beyond Business Survival is my critical small business owner training program. It's what you need to know when you're the CEO, because I know that if you don't get critical training, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I really want you to learn from the mistakes that I have made and the mistakes that a lot of other people have made, because when you make big mistakes in business, they slow you down or shut you down. I know this program will save you $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 or more. And my big question to you is, how many $5,000 mistakes can you afford? I think you really do need this do-it-yourself business growth program, where step 1 is you download the workbook and the transcripts. Step 2 is you go through the program to discover ways that you can significantly grow revenues, increase profits, and reduce the risk in your business. And step 3, prioritize your insights, and then step 4 is take action. It's that simple. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. So Beyond Business Survival is only $497. It comes this week with a bonus of a lifetime membership in the Paul Hoyt Library, which is $279 value. And we are looking at raising prices on this very quickly. And for a limited time, for those of you who think you might be interested in this program, I encourage you to send me an email, because I'm going to send you the introduction and the module on leadership, the first module, for free, so that you can get value from those, and you'll see how valuable the rest of the program will be to you. So join me, connect with me on Facebook, make me a personal friend, or join the Paul Hoyt business page and the Brilliant Business Group. Also connect with me on LinkedIn in the coming weeks and months. We're going to start some very aggressive LinkedIn marketing programs too, and programs for creating a community in that environment. I encourage you to get your energy of the day. For the last 110 days or so, I've been putting out an energy of the day message every day on Facebook. I encourage you to join the Paul Hoyt business page, and when you do, you will automatically see that message. And last week, we celebrated 150 consecutive messages. I forgot to take that off of today's presentation, but that's a big deal, 150 successive messages. Next office hours, which is not April 28th, it'll be on the first Monday in May, whenever that is. The topic is to be determined, so please let me know what topics that you would like for me to address in my survey at paulsurvey.com. Do your homework, and then let's get into the questions and answers. I'll leave my contact information up here on the screen so we can do this during the question and answer session. So with that, that concludes our formal presentation today, and I'm open for questions and answers. And I think Marcel may have some questions for me. Marcel, are you there?
Hey, Paul, I am here. Great job today. Really interesting information.
Thanks.
So one question we have is, if I'm a coach, how does this apply to me?
That's a good question, because a lot of people I work with have, I would call, very small service-oriented businesses, where it's just them or maybe a couple of people working in the business. And how can you employ gamification techniques into being a coach? Well, here's one way to do that would be to give a bonus session. To put a game in there in essence to increase loyalty, that would say that every 6th session is free, or once you buy 10 sessions, the 11th one is free, which would encourage the loyalty and allows people to play that game of having multiple sessions with you, especially if they're on a week-to-week or a month-to-month basis and they haven't bought a package. And you may just, from occasionally, over time, just surprise them in some way. So again, surprises are highly addicting. So if there's something that you can do to every once in a while reach out to your clients, your customers, your prospects, your community in some way that's surprising and generous, it will increase the loyalty and increase the hook that you have with them, the strength of the relationship that you have with them. So those are two ways that come off the top of my head. You can periodically send them a little gift. You can periodically give them a little bonus of some kind. You can have, another way would be a referral program. So you can reward people who give you referrals in a surprising kind of a way, in addition to the formal ways that you have to reward them for giving you referrals. So I think it's true that any business out there can employ gamification techniques in their business, whether you're a solopreneur and it's just you and the mouse in your pocket in your business, or whether you have large businesses too. Hopefully that was helpful.
Okay,
Marcel.
Thank you. Here's another one. I have a retail business and I wanted to create a game app for our customers so they will win discounts and freebies and move through the course. How much would the most expensive app be, and who can I contact with to create that game app?
Well, when you think about expensive apps, well, first of all, I'm going to talk about the process, and then we'll talk about the resources that you use. So first of all, the process is you decide what behaviors that you want to increase or enhance. And that could be that you want people to, it should be customer loyalty. Oftentimes, it's customer loyalty and the and increased lifetime value of the customer that oftentimes comes as a direct result of customer loyalty that you really want to increase. So you want to find ways to get them to stick around and to engage with you more often in your retail business. And that's what you want to encourage. In your case, in the retail business, it could be the total amount of purchases that you want to give them rewards for, or it could be the frequency of purchases. It could be the frequency with which they join you online. It could be the frequency with which they come into your store. You know, you could have a simple loyalty card that says, you know, step up to the counter and get your card punched. There's all kinds of things. So the first step is to think about which behaviors that you want to increase through the employment of gamification techniques, and then design some techniques in order to do that. And it could be with the app as well. So in the app itself, it may be that they get a point every time that they upload the app or open up the app. They could get points for interacting with the app. They could get points for searching for things online. They could get, you know, at random discounts that they get. Like, remember the old Kmart days where they had the blue light special? That was classic gamification techniques, where there was always a surprise discount. You never knew where it was going to be in the store, but it was the blue light special that came on when you were in Kmart that they'd announce over the intercom. You know, today's blue light special is in the hardware section. You can get a hammer for half price. So you can have those specials built into your application as well. So the cost of the application really depends on the sophistication of the people that you're having created for you. So if you're having true gamification experts design your entire gamification system and then create an app around that system, you could be spending multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had the privilege of doing a business plan for a client last summer on gamification, and because his target market were larger companies, it looks like the big four in the gamification industry who really specialize in those points, badges, and leaderboards were charging at a minimum of $100,000 for their engagement to come into the company. And if there was software developed on the other end of that, it could be multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars on the other end. In general, you can get apps done for smartphones and Androids, you know, for as little as $5,000. I'm guessing you could probably get them done for even less than that. But what you want to spend on it depends on what your goals and outcomes are and what you expect the outcomes to be. You know, if you want to create an app and you believe that that app has the opportunity to increase your revenues by a factor of 2, you're going to double your revenues from $1 million to $2 million, or from $100,000 to $200,000. Spending quite a bit of money on that app could be a very good decision for you. But if you want to employ gaming techniques into an app, the first step is to find people who are experts in doing so and can give some validity to their expertise through quality customer references. And as always, as we talked about in a session that I did a couple of office hours ago, I strongly encourage you to use the 3 expert rule and talk to 3 different experts on gaming and 3 different experts on developing an application for your business to make sure that you're getting a fair response from the people you talk to. So that was a bit of a long answer, but a very good question. I thank you for that question. So next one.
Great. Thank you for answering that one. That one came from Joey.
Okay.
So this question is actually one of my questions. You talked about the word personal prestige, and there's a way to elevate that within yourself. Can you tell me more about that?
I can talk to you, from a very personal level that I've been a game player, for a long time. I think the roots of that go back, sitting on my father's knee, sitting on my mother's knee, learning my ABCs and learning the numbers and learning that 2 + 2 = 4 and having great reward for learning, for achieving that next level of accomplishment. And I think that starts, at infancy, or when you're a toddler and you're learning to speak and you're learning to walk and you're learning to, to read and all of those things that happen at a very, very young age. I think we become addicted to, in some way, learning things and achieving things and making progress on our journey. And as we get older, what we find is that stays as a subconscious habit. I'm a learner. I love to learn new things, and I reward myself for learning new things when other people are not rewarding me for learning those things. It really helps me feel better about myself. So that's the art and science of gamification to me, is helping people feel better about themselves through making an effort, making an investment, and receiving some sort of reward as a result of that investment. That always enhances my prestige. Whenever I learn something new, I know that I feel better about myself, and I suspect that's the same with you as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this office hours call. Tuning into these calls, especially those of you who do it regularly, you're doing it to learn things, but you're doing it also because at some level it makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you feel a little more confident, a little stronger, and a little safer. That's the whole law of empowerment thing that comes from learning new things and developing new skills and habits and abilities. Hopefully that was helpful. Marcel, next.
Can you highlight the name of the book one more time?
I can. It's called Hooked, and I think it's got the subtitle about that, about building habits and increasing loyalty, but I don't have the subtitle right away. But if you just go online to Amazon and type in the word Hooked, the author's last name is Eyal, E-Y-A-L. I'm sure that you'll find it. And if for some reason that's difficult for you to find, you can come to the office hours once we post this presentation, or send me an email or a text, and I'll be happy to share that with you. Next question.
How can I best tell if my clients are craving more of what I have if I don't have gamification in place yet?
If you don't have gamification, I think it's about talking to them and asking them and listening to their language and just asking them directly, what do you like about this, and what do you think I can improve? What do you think we can do a little better? What are the 4 famous questions that one of my mentors, Jeff McGee, says? I believe they are, what would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? What would you like for me to do better? And what do you think that I'm doing too much of right now today? I don't think those are exactly the 4 questions, but ask those questions of people to really figure out if what floats their boat, what gives them a zing, what gives them a sense of accomplishment. What do you really like about this? And see if you can, in the course of the conversations, elicit that, and then build some sort of reward system around that, around the business that you have. But again, gamification is all about encouraging people to behave in the way that you want them to behave. And like with a lot of things, marketing, we try things out, and we try giving a reward here. We try this little contest. We try this point system. We try this leaderboard system. We try these badges and certificates system, and we see which one of these things are working. And like with most things, not everything is going to work with everybody, because people will respond in slightly different ways based upon who they are as a person. So I think it's important to try different gaming techniques, gamification techniques into your business, knowing that that some are going to appeal to some people and not so much to other people. But if you offer a variety, then you'll be always giving somebody out there, or be giving everybody out there, something that they really can use and like. Next question, Marcel.
What are some of the games that you currently play and are studying from?
One of my favorite games today is called Spider Solitaire. It's a free app that I landed on my iPad, and I like to play that at the hardest level. And here's why it's addicting to me. To play a game at the hardest level and win that game can be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. Oftentimes it involves 500 or 600 moves. It involves getting 100 moves into a game and then backing out to the very beginning and trying a different approach. So as I get a tremendous amount of investment in that game in terms of time in the game, which really, and I get a craving for winning the game, because I win about 40% of them. I think I'm getting a little better, so maybe it's 50% over time. So I win about 50% of those games, and the one that I just can't figure out just makes me want to play again so I can have the satisfaction of winning that game. So in my particular case, it's Spider Solitaire. Another thing that I really like to do, and I'll give my pops credit for this, is work jigsaw puzzles. I used to work them on a card table at home, and now we work them online. And there's something that really happens when I put that last piece of the puzzle in place and the picture all starts to become clear. It really relieves some cognitive dissonance. Something going on in the back of my mind as an analyst is that I want to see everything lined up correctly. I want to see everything fit. I want to see things being organized and categorized. And I just want to figure things out. I'm very driven to figure things out. Well, when it comes to working jigsaw puzzles, to put those last few pieces of puzzle in place and see that sense of accomplishment that comes from finishing that, I can feel in my subconscious mind a real sense of relief. It's a real, I finally did it. That relieving that cognitive dissonance and enhancing my own sense of self-image and self-esteem and self-confidence that comes from having made that accomplishment, no matter how little it is quite interesting. You know, I oftentimes tell people that it took me a long time to learn to be a silent person. In other words, to stop my thoughts and just sit there in the silence and listen to the birds or the airplanes or whatever it is I'm listening to. One of the things I listen to and pay attention to in that practice of extreme self-awareness is what's going on deep in my subconscious mind whenever I do things like play games. So sitting in the silence, playing a game and winning that game in whatever form, I can really feel that, you know, in the bottom of my soul as something that really, really motivates me. And if you learn to sit in the silence too and play games, my guess is that you'll have that same experience. That same experience that you had when you were sitting on your mom or daddy's knee and you were 2 years old and they said good boy or a good girl whenever you did something that you hadn't done before. That's I think that's the emotion that we tap into whenever we play games. So next question, Marcel, or next comment.
That is the last one I have. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to put them in the questions box. We have a few more minutes.
Yep. And we'll open it up, too, if you want to ask questions on any other topics relative to business or the meaning of life, as I like to say. For those of you who know me, you know that I'm not just a business consultant, that I'm a passionate enthusiast for everybody, you know, playing the awakening game, as I call it, or working on yourselves every day. And I work on myself every day and many, many times throughout the day as well, because I think that there's tremendous, tremendous benefit in that. And I'm not sure if we have any additional questions or not. So I'll say, before I conclude, Marcel, anything? Hearing none, I'm going to.
I feel like I won today just by being here.
You what?
I feel like I won today just by being here.
Oh, that's great. Well, all of you, I think all of you, hopefully all of you feel like you won today by being here, and you can start to think about employing gamification techniques in your business to increase loyalty and to increase the satisfaction of the people that you work with. It can be really, really interesting. I know that that's up and coming, just like social media was up and coming 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's like a matter of course everybody's doing it. I think gamification is exactly the same way. That today it's kind of new, or really it was new yesterday, and today it's starting to become mainstream, and tomorrow it will be, you know, just a matter of course that everybody does it all the time. So I hope this has been most valuable to you today. I encourage you to reach out with me and contact me in some way. If there's anything that I can do to support you in your business, just go to schedulepaul.com and pick a time that works for us to connect, or pick up the phone and give me a call. Until the next time that we see each other, which may be next week on our office hours presentation that I'm not quite sure what I'm going to talk on yet. This has been Paul Hoyt, thanking you for coming and wishing you a most marvelous and prosperous day. Goodbye.